I've been looking back on my content, and I realized that almost every video I've made is chock full of spoilers. That won't be changing anytime soon, but I figured a good way to end the year would be to just straight up recommend some of my favorite games, and tell you a little bit about them without spoiling anything. Maybe if you've still got some Christmas money left over in your Steam account, this video can help you figure out how to spend it, so you'll have some stuff to play over the upcoming release drought. I'll be real with you, this video is going to be a bit of a mess. This ain't no video essay. But as in my video recommending various YouTubers, I'm looking out for you guys in this one. We're going to be starting off with games that I would recommend to just about everyone, so long as you don't mind some action. These aren't necessarily my favorite games ever, but they're games that I think everybody can enjoy. It's worth noting that I'm only going to be covering games with single player modes. We're going to start out with a pretty obvious one, but one that I've seen a lot of younger people who haven't played. The HalfLife series. You'd think that HalfLife needs no introduction, but, well, it's a 22-year-old series. I won't go into the story or anything, but in the Half-Life games, you go on a long, linear trek through one dangerous situation after another. There are two things that, in my opinion, separate the Half-Life games from just about any other corridor shooter on the market. Firstly, there isn't a single time jump moment. You're looking at this world in real time, through Gordon Freeman's eyes from the beginning of the first Half-Life game up until the last game in Gordon Freeman's saga. Sure, you get knocked out once or twice and wake up sometime later, but every single thing that Gordon does is because of you. The camera never leaves Gordon's eyes, and Gordon never does anything outside of your control. Secondly, these games are designed around one key phrase: run, think, shoot, live. The Half-Life series has this incredible gameplay loop that's all based around solving problems and thinking things through. That isn't to say that the games are slow-paced immersive sims or anything, but more so than pure firepower or bee-hopping ability or any of that, your wits are what's going to get you through these games without having to load quick saves over and over again. If you see supposedly abandoned military equipment, you should enter a room with extra caution and have an escape route in mind. If you see a bunch of vents, you gotta keep your pistol or shotgun ready. Headcrabs love vents and they hurt. So, while you almost entirely interact with these games through combat, they've got this beautiful mix of planning things out and then just bang bang shoot the bad guy fun. What this all leads to is this incredible sense of immersion. Sure, it's kinda silly how Gordon is awake and being a badass for about 100 hours straight without stopping for food or to use the restroom, but this combination of a realistic tone and the unbroken first-person narrative makes every little detail seem so much more important than they would in other similar games. Well, there's a reason so many people consider this the best series of all time, and they've all aged so damn well. So, enjoy. Next up, we've got another series that I've been playing and replaying for my whole life, Halo. I can't do much better a job at explaining why Halo is great than I did in an earlier video of mine, why your kid should be playing Halo. But it just wouldn't feel right to not talk about this series that's defined so much of how I interact with games. I've seen Halo getting this weird stigma amongst PC gamers. Because these games have pretty much always been console exclusive, and because the first game practically invented so many things that have become dirty words in game design documents, regenerating health, only being able to hold 2 weapons, aim assistance, they haven't really gotten the love amongst the hardcore PC crowd that they deserve. Halo is, at its core, about 2 things: genuinely epic worlds and stories, and screwing around. While Halo games are generally really well balanced and reward a good mix of skill and strategy very well in their foot combat, where Halo really shines for me is the vehicle levels. The Needler, the Energy Sword, the CE Magnum, the Assault Rifle, the Plasma Rifle, these are all iconic weapons that play with and against each other incredibly well, but what truly separates Halo from the rest are these vehicles. You've got a rugged, unwieldy, incredibly fun and exciting to use car, the Warthog. You've got this crazy flying vehicle with this super unique design and dogfighting-centric controls, the Banshee. You've got a floating motorcycle vehicle that actually allows you to circle strafe while firing at enemies and dodging shots, the Ghost. You've got an incredible tank that allows you to get support from 4 different passengers while having an explosive cannon that's practically hit scanning, perfect for taking out distant vehicles, the Scorpion, and another tank that fires these ridiculous mortar shots, allowing you to devastate enemies in close range with its fast firing rate and skillfully take down more distant or mobile opponents, the Wraith, and so many more vehicles. These vehicles also interact with foot enemies in an incredible way, especially in Halo 2 onward. Piloting these things leaves you just vulnerable enough that a skilled player or lucky NPC can dodge your attacks and mount the vehicle, kicking you off, and of course you can do the same thing to them. Meaning that if you aren't careful with your positioning, getting inside of a ground vehicle like a brute chopper or even a banshee can turn your strategy from the most powerful one on the battlefield to a high-risk, high-reward strategy in seconds, and all it takes is letting an enemy get too close. On top of that though, these games are so content to let you screw around. You can shoot at your marines until they start fighting back, you can jump out of a vehicle right before you come to the edge of a cliff and watch some poor allies plummet to their death. You can grenade jump to certain places in order to sequence break, you can do these crazy stupid Warthog runs where you do some suicidal maneuver and turn the heat up to 11 in an otherwise slower paced fight. It's all just so dynamic. There's a reason that Halo YouTubers refer to this game's systems as a combat sandbox. Then you can just throw in a second player and go through these campaigns in co-op, and I swear to God you'll have the time of your life. There really aren't too many game series that I'd recommend to everybody, but I've got a couple more. The Yakuza series can be a bit daunting at first, but I doubt I've ever played a series that's put this dumb grin on my face as often as these games. I don't even think of myself as someone who likes beat-em-ups or fighting games or whatever you call these, but the minigame content in this series is so rich that everything often feels like a footnote to just exploring these beautifully realized Japanese districts and seeing what fun things there are to do. The fighting, however, it's got this great skill curve. If you're really struggling with the combat, you can cheese it pretty damn easily with weapons and healing items, but you'll inevitably get better and better. My first Yakuza game, Yakuza 0, I probably died over 50 times over my playthrough. Meanwhile, I recently finished my 7th Yakuza game, Yakuza 5, and I think I got a proper game over like 4 times. I just slowly and steadily got better and better at the combat in these games, and by this point in my playthrough of the series, nothing makes me happier than starting a chapter with a new player character and slowly exploring their skills and fighting style, and thinking things like, Yagami's fighting style has an emphasis on mobility and use of the environment, and then subtly shifting my playstyle to better suit the fighting style. This combat started out as a footnote for me, but it quickly became this thing that I had so much desire to master, and getting better and better at it has been one of the most rewarding game experiences I've had in recent memory. The Portal series has this incredible atmosphere with a great approach to storytelling and an incredibly unique, fun, and rewarding core mechanic, the portal gun, which leads to what is easily my favorite puzzle gameplay I've ever seen. They're simple games, but rich ones. Not much else needs to be said. I can't believe you haven't played these yet. Like I said, I'm not just randomly telling you about my favorite games, I'm only picking things that I would recommend to literally anybody who likes gaming. Now, let's get to some more niche recommendations. I'll be more brief about these because, frankly, there's a lot to go through. System Shock 2 has some absolutely incredible atmosphere. It's wildly immersive and has this intricate and challenging gameplay that seriously rewards thinking ahead, and trying to see the big picture when it comes to customizing your character and specialization. There will be times that you regret your decisions, and you'll just have to tighten your belt and keep trying to push forward. This is probably my favorite example of game mechanics that give you that classic sense of horror movie dread. Mirror's Edge is ridiculously cool and unique. While you can get through your first playthrough in like 10 hours, this game has a way of bringing out the perfectionist in you, and long story short, I've got 300 hours in it. It's not perfect, but you can play it perfectly with enough practice. Mother 2 and 3 are daunting games to play. They're huge, occasionally cryptic JRPGs. They take a long ass time to get through, and you'll probably end up using the fast forward button on your emulator a lot. However, if you have a way to play these games on your phone, you can just dedicate 15 minutes to them here and there during your breaks, and you'll eventually find some of my absolute favorite turn-based combat, and a story that, while basically made for kids, has a particularly unique way of speaking to me as an adult. Dusk is my favorite boomer shooter. No, Doom Eternal doesn't count. Doom Eternal is the most intense shooter I've ever played. This game will put hair on your chest on Nightmare mode, and it'll make you feel like you're on speed. It's glorious. Seriously, this might be my favorite gameplay of all time. The Beginner's Guide is a short little walking sim that has the potential to make you completely reconsider your perspective on art. It almost made me delete my channel a couple of years back. The Metal Gear Solid series is my favorite franchise in gaming. Hope you like stealth games and hope you like serious postmodernism. If you're into my channel, it's probably for you. Dishonored has some of the highest replay value of basically anything I've ever played. The possibilities are endless and the atmosphere is insane. The sequels are pretty good too. Remember, you don't have to play it like a stealth game if you don't want to. Prey 2017 is the best immersive sim I've played. The game demands so much thought out of you, and the usual jank that comes with immersive sims is next to non-existent. I've never played a game that awarded creativity as much as Prey. Planescape Torment changed my life. It's cryptic and you'll probably have to consult a guide once or twice, but man, this game has the power to truly change your perspective. Disco Elysium managed to beat Planescape Torment for my favorite game of all time earlier this year. Never in my life have I related to a character so much as I have the player character of this game. I've never been summed up so accurately, and I don't even drink anymore. Death Stranding, while a totally different type of game, also sums me up in a way. This game has a powerful message that applies to every last mortal. If you don't like the gameplay, you won't like the game, but footage doesn't do justice to just how intricate this gameplay is. Every single step feels like a little decision. Even as I'm just walking forward, I feel pretty damn engaged when playing this game. Every game in the Amnesia series is a banger in my book. While a lot of people think A Machine for Pigs, the second game, is a step down for the series, to me, they just get better and better as they came out. These are real horror games that are deep and meaningful and just have the best pacing. Soma, also by Frictional Games, probably takes the cake in terms of sheer horror, and before Rebirth came out, it was the most interesting Frictional game in terms of artistry, at least to me. Check it out, it seriously affected me. Ico, Shadow of the Colossus, and The Last Guardian, the Fumito Ueda trilogy, each offer a totally different emotional experience and totally different gameplay experiences. But they all have that same root feeling of wonder, epicness, and exploration. These games are absolutely critical to anybody who says they like artful game design. Unfortunately, you can only play them on Sony consoles, so you might not be able to get your hands on them if you're a PC guy, but I highly recommend them. Tyranny, New Vegas, Tides of Numenera, all of them have the power to get you into some serious philosophical arguments with your friends. Absolute must-plays for anybody who likes WRPGs. Speaking of, I'm really liking Cyberpunk so far. I can't speak for the console version, but if you wanted an RPG out of this game, the bugs are way less annoying than almost every other RPG. If you wanted an open-world GTA-style game, then there's nothing for you here. The writing and world building and character building, top-notch so far. I can't really consider it a true RPG like New Vegas, but that isn't necessarily a bad thing, just a difference in design priority. It's closer to the left side of the graph in that video I did earlier this month about how to enjoy RPGs. To cover one last RPG, The Outer Worlds is just a fantastic one made by titans of the genre that totally lives up to the hype. Smaller in scale than New Vegas, but more focused than New Vegas. Fantastic game mechanics, fantastic writing, fantastic roleplay potential. Give it a shot if you haven't. It'd probably make for a very good introduction to role-playing games if you're not familiar with them yet. You know, when I started this script, I was kind of worried I wouldn't have enough games to recommend, but here I am 9 pages in and I've barely scratched the surface of what games I truly love. We'll continue this another time, maybe for the holidays next year. In the meantime, some of you guys might know that I only cover games that I adore in one way or another, so if you're looking for more recommendations, you can just scroll through my channel and see which games I've done videos on. The videos themselves are full of spoilers, but their presence alone can serve as a recommendation if this didn't cut it for you. I absolutely love getting people into games that they wouldn't have fallen in love with otherwise, but that just plain isn't what this channel's about. It's more just for people who have already played the games in question. In the meantime, I do intend to get back to doing just that, making spoiler-riddled deep dive analyses. Things have just been weird lately. After my 200,000 subscriber special in a week or two, you guys can expect things to more or less go back to being business as usual around here. Thanks a ton for bearing with me over these incredibly transitory last couple of months. In the meantime, I hope you guys had happy holidays. Let's all hope 2021 turns out better. Love you guys. Happy New Year. Before I see you all off and get back to looking for Christmas gifts, I'd just like to go ahead and verbally thank my patrons, especially the ones donating $10 or more monthly, such as Ahoy Buoy Polly K, Alex Vanderwood, Almost Dead Again, Anatoly Volnov, Andrew Melnick, Arthur D. Gonzalez Martin, Big Time Jim, Colin Gajic, Cooper Sutton, Koss, Cosmo Borski, Daniel Christman, Darius Fazier, David Kaiser, Dominic Johann, Duncan Bristow, Fralum, In Bloom, Jack Eisenberg, Jano, J.O., John Strange, J.P., J.W., Kale Graybill, Max Binning, Mello, Mixer Rules, Money and Muses, Patio Furniture, CeeLo, Silver Silence, Wolf HD, Yemen Shi, and Young Master Pig. I'll fully admit there's been a little bit of a dip in quality in the last 2 weeks, and again, that's just because of all the hecticness that comes with moving out. Now I'm more or less settled into this new place, and the year's over, so things should be back to status quo pretty soon. I've sort of been obliged to make some more personal videos lately, as I'm sure you've noticed, just because it's been a very real couple of months, like I've been saying. But pretty sure I'm on the tail end of all of that stuff now, so we can just get back to talking about video games. Thanks for bearing with me, guys. Happy holidays.